upset because their yearly dues have nearly doubled. Well, Lone Star will guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. With their A-plus rating at the Better Business Bureau, clients know that Lone Star Transfer is a company you can trust. For a free consultation, please go to LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. On this Wednesday, watching the dissent over the court rulings on abortion and handgun carry laws, two things are clear. First, the fanatical left does not respect the democratic system the founders set up. And second, if they could, the progressives would support a totalitarian federal government as long as leftists held power. On the right, there is deep disenchantment over liberal policies. That's obvious. But when Roe v. Wade was imposed in 1973 by the Supreme Court, conservatives did not rampage or threaten the court. Yes, there were a few violent loons who damaged abortion clinics, but nothing like we are seeing now from the far left. It's important to understand two things. One, that some progressives will try to actually hurt you if you believe opposite from them. And second, some very powerful media people and corporate people will harm those with whom they disagree. Hollywood is a template for that. It's extremely difficult for outwardly pro-life people or even Trump supporters to find work in the entertainment industry. Most studio chieftains and high-profile agents are doctrinaire liberals. They wouldn't hold their positions if they weren't. The current situation in show business is worse than the McCarthyism of the 1950s. Finally, the President of the United States is apparently fine with the totalitarian left. Did you hear Joe Biden specifically condemn demonstrations in front of the homes of the justices? No. Back after this. AMAC is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful news, and a magazine full of uncensored content. They are pushing back against efforts to defund the police, weaken the borders, and corrupt our youth. But they need your help. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's AMAC.us. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
Is your prostate secretly being destroyed without you knowing it? All the ads for these prostate pills like Super Beta Prostate, Saw Palmetto, Prostastream, Prostagenics, and others. Want to know which pills work and which are garbage? Now you can. Get a free copy of the new guide, Prostate Secrets, that pulls back the curtain on the prostate pill industry. Learn what is really in these pills. Which pill has over 987 adverse event reports filed against it with the FDA? It's shocking. Learn the one food to avoid that is a prostate killer, and discover the 3 so-called health foods that destroy your prostate. Get your free copy at prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com. This free guide will show you how to end your prostate problems without drugs or surgery, 5 important things to do to protect your prostate, and much more. Warning, this guide is controversial and may be offensive to some readers as it pulls no punches. So go to prostatesecrets.com, prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com.
News, analysis, opinion. We're 93.9 The Eagle, KSSC, Fayette, Columbia, a free service of Zimmer Communications.
She's a total phony. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump dismissing testimony on the Capitol riot from a former White House aide who told a House hearing that he knew some protesters that day had weapons but didn't care. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney asked Cassidy Hutchinson.
I just want to confirm that is when you heard the president say the people with weapons weren't there to hurt him and that he wanted the Secret Service to remove the magnetometers.
That's correct.
There's also pushback to this testimony. Fox's Jared Halpern.
After his rally on January 6th, former President Trump intended to come to the Capitol. Secret Service said it was too dangerous.
The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel.
Cassidy Hutchinson, a top aide to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, says she was told about the president's reaction when he was told by a lead Secret Service agent they'd have to return to the White House.
Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel.
What a Secret Service source tells Fox, agents are prepared to dispute that story. The former president says it never happened. President Biden's in Spain at a NATO summit, and now that Turkey's dropped its opposition leader, Jens Stoltenberg, says they'll be
inviting Finland and Sweden to join our alliance.
There are a lot of winners this morning after voting in 8 states. In Colorado, Joe O'Dea won the Republican primary, hoping to unseat a Democratic senator.
Michael Bennet is Joe Biden's senator. He's not a Colorado senator.
Also in that state, a controversial congresswoman beat back a primary challenge.
Lauren Boebert beating state Senator Don Quorum by a landslide and breezing her way into November's race against Democrat Adam Frisch. And Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee defeating primary challenger Becky Edwards. Lee will face independent Evan McMullen, who is endorsed by Democrats.
Fox's Brooke Singman in Illinois redistricting pitted members of Congress against each other. Sean Casten beat Marie Newman in a Democratic primary. On the Republican side, Trump-backed Mary Miller topped Roddy Davis. America's listening to Fox News.
The economy is headed directly for a disaster. The Fed can either raise rates to lower inflation and trigger a stock and housing market crash, or it can keep rates low and potentially cause hyperinflation. That is why you must take action to protect your savings right now. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to diversify your retirement account out of paper assets and into physical gold. The Birch Gold Group IRA is what I recommend to all my family and friends. And today, Birch Gold is giving away a free information kit about how gold IRAs work. To get your free copy, just text the word PROTECT to 989898. It's crucial for you to get this information before an economic disaster is in full swing. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required, so do it now. Text PROTECT to 989898. Action, action, action. Use your agency. Take action today.
93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you in this 6 o'clock hour by the great folks at Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson's saves you time. Good morning, everyone. We are expecting sunny conditions today with a high of around 91 degrees. Going to be a little bit warmer today and then maybe even a little bit warmer tomorrow with a high around 93. Good morning. Here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. Columbia Police are crediting a letter that was found this month at a local Super 8 motel for helping solve the case of an infant death that happened back in 2019. High-profile case. Infant remains discovered in a tire near North Providence Road, near McKnight Tire, if you know where that is. McKnight Tire's on Providence Road. This area is just north of I-70. Police have always said their main goal was to give the child a name and to honor her memory. Police Chief Jeff Jones broke down several times in emotion at Tuesday's press conference at City Hall.
Simone J. Daniels, we believe she was between 4 and 5 months old at the time of her death. We believe she had been in the tire since 2017. You have to excuse me, this has had a toll on a lot of us, especially the investigators behind me.
Several of the investigators behind him were tearing up as the chief was speaking there at the podium. Boone County prosecutors have charged the infant's parents in this case. They're jailed without bond this morning. Stefan Fountain of St. Joe is charged with first-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse. 28-year-old Lavasha Daniels of St. Louis is charged with 2 felonies, including abandonment of a corpse. Now, and there's one other key aspect on this story here, and that is the fact that these court documents are sealed in this case. I did go over to the Boone County Courthouse yesterday, tried to get the court documents, was told they are at a level 6. A level 6. That means they are not accessible to the public at this point. When they're sealed, we'll go back over and get those court documents. So no other details about the murder right now. Meantime, the National Transportation Safety Board's 14-member team is at the site of Monday's deadly collision between an Amtrak train and a dump truck in northern Missouri's Sheraton County. This area is near Mendon. The NTSB is now interviewing the train crew. The collision at an uncontrolled crossing with no lights has killed 4. It's injured 150 others. Sheraton County's presiding commissioner, Evan Emmerich, says residents and county officials have been pushing for a safety upgrade at that location. for 3 years. A Sheraton County native who owns Columbia-based Peak Sport and Spine is praising the response from law enforcement and others who responded to the derailment. He describes it as incredible. Philip Smith arriving on scene after the crash. He says everyone who showed up at the scene was there to help. He talks about a farmer and a volunteer first responder, Adam Mosey. Mr. Mosey was combining nearby when the collision happened. Listen to this.
And a big-time farmer. He jumped off a tractor to get there and came to help. And he did try to administer CPR, which, like Shane said, was unsuccessful.
Smith tells 93.9 The Eagle he saw at least 6 Missouri Department of Conservation agents helping people at the crash scene, and says residents from every nearby town helped out. Those towns include Mendon, Brunswick, Brookfield, Marceline, just to name a few. My colleague John Marsh is also reporting this morning that Cole County authorities did help as well. Cole County authorities did help as well in response to that train derailment. So a big presence here from mid-Missouri. And Columbia area residents will soon have a Hawaiian dining option. It's called Hawaiian Bros Island Grill. They're building a new restaurant at the former Jack in the Box location near Grindstone. That's here in Columbia. Sign on the road says the store is coming soon. Chesterfield-based Knoble Construction is handling the project. The menu will feature their popular traditional plate lunch with white rice, macaroni salad, and your choice of a protein as well. Their menu will also feature Honolulu chicken. Hawaiian Brothers is also looking for employees for that new store. Again, that is located on Grindstone. The store is in front of the Goodwill. That used to be a Jack in the Box location. They tore down the old building and building a new one. News is brought to you in the 6 o'clock hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. Log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cardinals have an opportunity today to sweep the Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins, if you will. Cardinals winning the game yesterday by a score of 5-3 in the series. So one more game left. Normally in the, as I call it, the getaway game, they play an afternoon game, but not today. It's a little unusual. 6:45 is the first pitch. It's an evening game, and with the heat, maybe that's the best thing. So first pitch tonight, 93.9 The Eagle at 6:45. Rangers over the Royals yesterday at Kauffman Stadium last night, 8-3. Now they are playing an afternoon game today. There'll be 1:10. 1:10 is the first pitch at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. All right, John, thank you. Weather brought to you by Club Car Wash. ClubCarWash.com, 65 degrees. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people, MidmoHires.com. There is road work and has been road work all night on Highway 63 between Grindstone and Broadway. That should be wrapping up if it's not wrapping up any moment now. They were picking up cones about a half an hour ago. A lot of work going on both sides of the highway overnight, and they started that about 10 o'clock last night. We'll have another update at 6:31. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I had goosebumps and made me feel like I wanted to start crying, and there's a lot of people around here that felt that same way. My daughter, she was over there helping and said that she's seen some lady with no nose and somebody else, some guy with nails in him, and just they were helping getting people off the bus and into the school. And it's like a dream, I guess, not a dream, but a nightmare.
That's Bambi Sportsman. She's an employee at Cooney's General Store talking to our news partners at ABC 17. We're uncovering new information this morning. with what happened with that train derailment in Menden, Missouri, kind of a village. So basically it's about an hour kind of west of Moberly, a little dogleg up to the right. Right now this morning, as we all sit here and hang out on the show, there's 16 investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board, in fact, literally in a cornfield in Missouri, and they're starting to try to sift through what's going on. And Brian Hauswirth had an interest, our news director for the entire Zimmer Radio Network, interesting conversation with a local business guy who went up there immediately in the aftermath to help. What did he unveil in his conversation with you?
I think the biggest thing about him, and he's well known here in town, Branden and Stephanie, his name's Philip Smith, and he grew up in Chariton County. His farm is still there. Grew up there, his family, and still has the farm, but he owns Peak Sport and Spine here in town. He went up there as soon as he could. He got there, and they probably got there maybe an hour or so. He said a lot of the people had already been kind of taken out and rescued. But the way he described it is just the incredible coordinated response. He said that there were coordinators, law enforcement coordinators, set up basically every 100 to 150 yards. He said he'd never seen that many highway patrol. 6 conservation agents, at least, that he noticed. And everyone that showed up, he said all the townspeople from Brunswick were there. Marceline, Pringer Foods from Brookfield brought down water, and he was highlighting the fact that everyone came out. And then these stories of just, they're a little powerful here. But I'll share one. And as he said he doesn't mean any disrespect to the family, but he's showing just how the dump truck driver was very grateful. And I'll try not to choke up talking about it because it's powerful. And I haven't heard it reported anywhere else. He said a guy named Adam Mosey. Mosey is and I know who he is. He's a first responder up there and a farmer. People in Menden definitely know him. He apparently was combining and literally jumped out of his tractor. The crash happened basically at the corner of the guy I interviewed, his property. This guy jumps off a tractor, and other farmers and another guy that was logging came running over. The Boy Scouts got there pretty quickly too, but this guy, the truck driver, was, according to Philip, was conscious and talking the whole time, but towards the end he was saying, "Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me." And they were saying, we got you. And then he lost consciousness. They did everything they could to bring him back. And what Philip said, Branden, was that this, and Philip's, forgive me, his brother was with him as well. I've got his name in my notes, and I'll mention him by name. But Philip's brother also said this. He said that this has taken a huge toll on the people who were providing the rescues and helping out as well, that this has been very emotional for them. We have not really heard that. They were really, it's hard for them. They saw this man pass away in front of them. You heard the graphic fight there, and people need to hear that. Someone lost a nose. I've heard other things as well. It was beyond horrific. But basically what he was saying is terrible situation. People sprung into action, and he talked about how proud he was. In fact, he had one request to me today. He said, "Brian, I would request you in your stories, give the credit to the other people, not Shane and I. We were late on the scene. We were not able to help in near the fashion some of these other people were." And of course, we're honoring his request. But as I told him, you did help out. And he did. He did. He got there. I mean, he had to come from way down here. There were, by the way, quite a few people from Columbia that drove up there to help.
I spoke with Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol, yesterday for a while on the phone. We exchanged a couple of texts, and that was one of the first things he said was the community, the Missouri community, coming together to help. As a matter of fact, Lieutenant Eric Brown joins us on the show 7:35 this morning. That's some powerful stuff to see. I've never seen anything like that in person in life. Antoine Patton was on the train, lives in California, and he's traveling. He was going to Illinois, and he was going for a wedding. And he was talking to our news partners at ABC 17, and apparently he was supposed to be, his original seat was lower level, and they moved him to an upper level, and he said that may have helped him.
It's a blessing, but also just still hurt that there's still people that suffer. I'm feel very lucky that I came out unharmed, but I also feel great sorrow for those who tragically lost their lives, as well as walked away with severe injuries from what I saw on the train. And I don't know what to say. What strain of luck got me to move and not experience that type of pain.
And Antoine this morning still trying to find his way to Chicago for a wedding that he's going to be a part of. So one of the things that we are learning this morning, apparently, and I guess there was a little bit of chatter on this yesterday, but the safety of that specific crossing, they're in Menden, Missouri. It's what they call, I guess it's a passive crossing. In other words,
uncontrolled officially, but same thing.
Yeah, so there's a stop sign, but I don't guess there's lights in the arms and things like that. So the National Transportation Safety Board and their 16-member team that's in Missouri right now, they might already be out on scene. These are one of the things that they are going to be looking into, and apparently Missouri Department of, according to a headline from ABC 17, Missouri Department of Transportation knew the crossing was not safe before the Amtrak crash. Now, that's the headline from ABC 17.
Yeah, and we had a listener text in yesterday and said, hey, I think I saw a Facebook post a couple weeks ago about this very crossing and pointed us in the right direction. Mike Spencer made a post on June 11th. And said, this is a railroad crossing basically on my farm. We have to use farm equipment to try to get across it. And he has a video of a train. He said, this train's only going 45 to 50 miles an hour, but some come through 70 to 90. If you cross here, approach very slowly, look both ways. Just saying it's not a good thing. Apparently, he told some other folks later, and had been talking to a Channel 41 in Kansas City, said, I would have fixed these crossings myself if I could have. He'd been working with local county officials and expressing his concern over that very crossing.
Matter of fact, same guy, Mike Spencer, spoke with our news partners at ABC 17 talking about that crossing.
I had been on the railroad case for a while, for the last 2 or 3 years to get this fixed.
So apparently, I guess folks in Menden knew, hey, this is an issue, and apparently people weren't just complaining about it, but people were going and trying to take some action, trying to get involved, and then you have something that happens like this. It's just incredibly disheartening. So 7:35 this morning, Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol, he's going to give us the latest on what he knows. Right now, it's largely in the hands of the National Transportation Safety Board. We'll be in touch with them over the next few days. Brian Hauswirth, news director for the Zimmer Radio Group, he is going to be in touch with them. And as we get new stuff coming in this morning, you are going to be one of the first to know here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Surprise. What was the surprise hearing yesterday with 1-6?
Didn't they just delay? They had planned for weeks for the one hearing, and they're like, not ready. And then Monday, they're like, hey, guys, guess what? Tomorrow.
And so my first thought is I'm thinking, okay, so remember who's in charge of this thing. Not in charge of the broadcast. The guy who is in charge of the hearings, he is a former high-level network television executive. So that's the mindset of the people in this committee. How can we jazz this up? Because we know based on television ratings and based on talk on the streets, people just haven't really been that interested. And really, I don't think we've learned anything new. There's talk, well, Trump was, he was loud and he was angry. And I think those are things, yeah, we knew that about the Trump personality. In a lot of ways, that helped Americans when he was president. What happened behind the scenes, kind of different stuff. And again, a lot of allegations coming out yesterday. But still, I still have not seen anything. I took yesterday off so I could watch this. I said, there's nothing that says Trump made those still to this day. Still nothing. And maybe you see it differently. Let us know, 874-9390. It's a witch hunt still. Trying to say Trump made, because that's what the point of these hearings are. It's to say Trump made those people do that, and they are failing on every single level. They are failing on every single level. Now, they're saying a lot. There's a lot of juice coming out of the White House about what was happening behind the scenes, but there is nothing to say that Trump made those people go and do that.
Now, is a witch hunt the same thing as a crapshoot?
Okay. It's a gamble, witch hunt. Witch hunt, we're going after you with a purpose. Crapshoot, it's both. Is that safe? Is that middle of the road enough for everybody? That's what this is. It's both, and they're trying. I guess a lot of it is obviously because they know that there's going to be a red tidal wave November 2022. I am anxious to look at how several SCOTUS rulings might affect the way people are thinking about how they are going to vote when it comes to November. So one of they just continue to show Trump was doing this, Trump was doing that. There is still nothing, unless you've seen something different. I'm telling you, there is nothing that says Trump made those people go and do that.
Well, and I think two of the things that came out yesterday was, well, he was really mad in the car, I guess, as driving. There was some sort of, it's unclear what happened in the car, but he was really mad, and he knew that at least some of the people that were, involved in going to the Capitol had weapons. Okay, I go to church on Sunday. I know some people there have weapons, again, I don't think, unless he's holding their hand, I just don't understand because, the fact that he's mad is not new. We knew he was mad that day. He's been mad a lot. He was mad before that. He was mad. He's still mad. He's kind of a mad guy. And the fact that, when people show up to a rally, that some of them have some type of weapons, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear that and hear that he knew that. But just because I know someone has a weapon doesn't mean I think that I'm encouraging them to go do something terrible with that weapon.
Exactly, and that's what the point of this is supposed to have been off the text. Somebody says Trump assaulted the Secret Service limo driver and tried to grab the steering wheel. Now, apparently, according to Fox News this morning, there are two Secret Service agents that are willing to testify that what Cassidy Hutchinson was a White House aide to the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, and that's what a lot of the national news outlets are focusing on this morning. What she had to say yesterday, and she said, yeah, Trump, he grabbed the steering wheel. Two Secret Service agents are prepared to testify to say no. So this is one of the highlights from yesterday's January the 6th hearing.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor, which was causing them to have to clean up. So I grabbed a towel and started wiping the ketchup off of the wall to help the valet out.
So Trump got mad, threw a plate against the wall, and they had to clean up ketchup. That was one of the highlights. Another big highlight from yesterday.
Just something for the Democrats to relish in.
Points. You get a few points there. I'm stoked. Daily DC rundown. We had some more primaries nationwide yesterday. What do you think is going to be one of the highlights we're going to cover?
I think Colorado, some interesting happenings there yesterday.
All right, we're going to do that. Daily DC rundown.
An eye on the nation, an eagle eye on mid-Missouri. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9, The Eagle.
When the chips are down, Michael Bennet does whatever Joe Biden wants him to do. Michael Bennet is Joe Biden's senator. He's not a Colorado senator. Colorado wants its leaders to be independent.
Joe O'Dea, Colorado Senate candidate, winning a primary last night. That is getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
And in Colorado, surprisingly, I think, two of the candidates who were less Trump candidates were the ones who prevailed. And so both Joe O'Dea and Tina Peters, she was nationally known after the 2020 election, but she was defeated by Pam Anderson, who's been a critic of Trump's. And so there in Colorado, both of kind of the Trump critics came out on top.
So I think we should get into some of this more at 6:35, how these things, whether it's the January 6th hearings, SCOTUS rulings, how this might be changing this big red tide that we're expecting and hoping for in November.
And there were some states where it happened exactly opposite of Colorado. And so we can name those states coming up. Also, we were talking yesterday that the HHS secretary would say something about Dobbs. He did address the nation yesterday and said every option is on the table in helping women access abortion. So more to come on that.
And that's interesting. Every option. What does that mean? That is your daily DC rundown. So, 5 minutes. I think Steph and I will get into this. SCOTUS rulings, what's been going on with Trump. How might this affect the midterms, if at all? We'll do that for you coming up about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning.
Stop by Club Car Wash today to get an unlimited membership for just $20 a month. See more details at clubcarwash.com. It's 62 degrees.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. A source close to the Secret Service tells Fox agents are prepared to testify that former President Trump never lunged at the steering wheel, demanding he be taken to the Capitol last January 6th.
Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
Former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson telling a story she was told at a hearing of the House committee investigating the Capitol riot. A big supporter of the former president, Congressman Lee Zeldin, wins the Republican nomination for governor of New York.
He'll face incumbent Democrat Kathy Hochul, who is running for her first full term after rising to power in the wake of disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo's sexual assault scandals. Zeldin is promising to clean up the mess created by progressive policies.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. In Utah, Senator Mike Lee wins his Republican primary. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31. 65 is our current temperature here in Columbia. We're expecting a high today of around 91 degrees. It is going to be warm, even warmer tomorrow. Finally, we'll get another cold front that moves through and possibly some storms on Friday. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you on this Wednesday morning. Columbia police are crediting the community and a letter that was found at a local Super 8 for providing a major lead in solving an infant's murder. You'll recall those infants' remains were found inside a tire in 2019 near McKnight Tire. That's on North Providence, just north of I-70. CPD investigators have been working since then to solve the case. Charges have been filed against the parents of the infant, who's identified as Simone Daniels. Stefan Fountain of St. Joseph, the father, is charged with first-degree murder in this case. He is jailed in Buchanan County. The 28-year-old mom, LaVasha Daniels of St. Louis, is charged with abandonment of a corpse. She is jailed without bond as well. Meantime, first responders from all the way in Cole County and Jefferson City pitching in at this week's train derailment near Menden.
SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, put out the request for Cole County Emergency Medical Service crews to respond to Monday's train derailment. The crew based in Cole County provided 2 ambulances, 6 EMTs and paramedics, the chief, and a doctor to Menden High School. That's where many of the passengers were taken for initial medical care. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
State troopers now say 4 people have been killed in that train collision near Menden, and the Hawaiian Bros Grill is about ready to open a restaurant here in Columbia at 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cardinals and the Miami Marlins. Miami's a tough team. They don't have quite a bit the talent as some of the other teams in that division. Tough division, but they play hard. There's no doubt about that. The Cardinals beating them yesterday at Busch Stadium in the evening. The final score there was 5-3. Cardinals have a chance to sweep the series, normally in the getaway game, especially as we get ready for a day off. They play an afternoon game, but not today. This one's going to be in the evening. Maybe that's the best with the Heat. 6:45 first pitch here on 93.9 The Eagle. Rangers over the Royals last night at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, 8-3. They'll play today. It is a businessman special at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. 1:10 is the first pitch. 93.9 The Eagle Sports is brought to you in this 6 o'clock hour by Atterbury Auction and Realty. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:34. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com to post your job opening today or to find a job as well. Our roads are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. There was a lot of work that took place overnight. Many of you saw it on Highway 63, both sides between essentially Broadway all the way out to Grindstone. Cones set up, literally hundreds of cones they had to pick up this morning as they were wrapping up. That should be done now for the morning. No other traffic issues to report right now. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Let me just get that question out of the way then. Would you support Biden-Harris ticket in 2024?
I'm looking squarely towards 2022 and the re-election ahead of me, working to make sure that voters are...
So she didn't answer the question, is the point of that. That is Abigail Spanberger. She's a Democratic congresswoman from the state of Virginia. She was first elected in 2018, re-elected in 2020. She's on Fox yesterday, and she was asked by Dana Perino. She says, hey, would you support Kamala and Joe in 2024? The answer is supposed to be yes. And she's saying, well, right now I'm focused on, which is a very political answer, and I get it. You're a politician. You have to do that. But it is what she is saying is, I don't know. Further in the interview, she was asked, she says, do you want Joe Biden campaigning for you? And you know what she said? She says, I'll campaign for myself. So I think there's some more signals on how bad it could potentially be for Democrats in the midterms. And those are just a few months away. We're talking 5 months away. Our Missouri primary. We're 4 or 5 weeks out from the Missouri primary. Want to get into some endorsements here that some of our local folks have been getting some folks in Missouri state races that we're going to be trying to figure out coming up on August the 2nd. We're going to be doing that here in just a few minutes on Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell to my left, high-powered attorney, mom, wife, older woman. Did I miss anything there?
Fill-in radio host.
By the way, thank you. Seriously, if I can step aside for a second here and just be honest, man, I love it. Like when you guys are doing the show, and I'll tell you why. Because it means I get to sleep in.
No, yeah, I was going to say, we don't love it when you're gone. We prefer you to be here, but we're glad you're back. And our listeners, they were saying, hey, when's Branden coming back? We said, doesn't he get to sleep in every now and again? Doesn't he deserve a morning to himself?
Here's what I always get worried about. Like, anytime I'm gone, if I may be honest for another minute, Hannah, I'm always worried, Branden's not there for a few days. You know where?
We inevitably get text messages if you're gone more than one day. Oh, no, I hope Branden's okay. It's always like, he's just taking time off. Relax.
Is he drunk again? No, man. 674 days without a drink. But I love it because, I get to sleep in. But it used to be, like, whenever I was gone, I'm always like, all right, how's the show going to go? And I got to tell you, that peace of mind, because isn't that what we want from everything in life? We want peace of mind that everything, whether it's the economy, whether it's our kids, our grandkids, our job, don't we just want peace of mind that everything's going to be okay? And everything is going to be okay. It just might be riding the old jet scream at Six Flags. It might be a roller coaster ride getting there. But ultimately, you get off the jet scream and you smile.
I remember that ride.
Yeah. And you smile and you go, oh, that's okay. Did you ever do the jet scream at Six Flags? It may have been gone before your time.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, boy, I know the name. I can't remember exactly where that was.
It was famous for the loop. At the time, back in the 80s, it had the first loop. If you're driving down 44, that's the first thing you saw was the jet scream. So that's what it's like.
Okay.
So that's my bigger point here I'll tell you, I slept in till 9:30 yesterday and Monday and what would happen in the past is I'd get up because I'd be like, okay, who's hosting the show? How's this going to go? And I got to tell you, and I mean this, and I'll tell you off air if I haven't already told you off air, that peace of mind knowing that show's fine. Man, I love that feeling, and I mean that. Daily DC, and that's Brian Hauswirth. He's the news director for the Zimmer Radio.
It's good to see you.
Network. He's working on info regarding the train derailment in Menden, learning a lot of stuff. I think one of the bigger things we're learning this morning, apparently that crossing there had been a point of contention in the past. We're going to be covering that more. And there is Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
22-year-old college grad. Got a degree in?
Agriculture.
And how does that apply to what you're doing today? Okay. All right, let's move forward. We were doing the daily DC rundown. Obviously, this has been a fun primary season because usually, there's races in all these other states. We don't care. How does that affect me? I want to know about our U.S. Senate race on the Republican side. I want to know about our 4th Congressional District race. But I've been watching this stuff with popcorn, man. What's been happening in other parts of the country? A couple of highlights in your mind?
Well, we talked a little bit about what happened in Colorado, and they're kind of the the critics of Trump in 2 separate races won. But I was paying closer attention to what's happening, here in the Midwest and in Illinois. It was actually the Trump candidates won. And so, and I was surprised because I guess in Illinois they had redistricting and, the Democrats did their best to draw Republicans into the same district. And they did that with Representative Mary Miller and Representative Rodney Davis. Now, I've seen Rodney Davis speak a couple times in person, always been really impressed, really like the guy, but apparently lost pretty substantially to Representative Mary Miller. Now, Mary Miller was headlining, there was that Trump rally in Illinois this weekend. And so she was the one that was on stage with Trump. And so I think she won by like 15 points. Did you see who was there?
I did not.
Greitens was hanging out at the Illinois Trump rally. I saw photos that people took of him.
Really? So he was hanging out. I wonder if he was an invited guest, and could that be an indicator that Trump might be? Because we still, in our U.S. Senate race, we still don't have a Trump endorsement for any candidate. And last polling we saw showed 27% undecided, which was undecided got more votes than Greitens, Schmitt, and Hartzler. So there's a lot of undecideds out there. So I wonder if Greitens was there at the behest of Trump or he was just there.
I mean, I think if he would have gotten a picture with Trump at the rally, it'd be all over the interwebs. And I have not seen that. I've just seen other people who were like, look who's here. And it's like random pictures of him hanging out. So I don't know.
John Brunner, who ran against Eric Greitens for governor of Missouri in 2016. John Brunner's actually joining us on the show 7:10 this morning because he has made an endorsement in the U.S. Senate race. If you haven't heard who John Brunner has endorsed, by the way, an incredibly successful businessman and one of the people that I've gotten to know, especially in the gubernatorial race, and he was on the show a couple of months ago. Mm-hmm. He's one of those folks that you meet and the political stuff aside, you go, man, this is just, he's a good dude. Seems like a good, upstanding, I was going to say young man, but he's older than I am. He is going to be here at 7:10. Meanwhile, 4th District Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler gets kind of, by the way, these endorsements from the Missouri Farm Bureau, they're kind of a big deal.
They are a big deal, and when she was on her show recently, she ticked off all of the endorsements that she had already had, and it was like all the livestock and all of the other farming institutions, and had not nabbed that Missouri Farm Bureau. And my understanding is the Farm Bureau does not always and typically does not endorse in primary, so it's a big deal. I know, I think, didn't they endorse Kalina Bruce? And so now they've endorsed Vicky Hartzler, so that's a big get. They have tons of members, tons of power. And she Hartzler has really set herself up as saying, hey, there's all these guys in St. Louis. I'm the rural candidate, right? And this kind of emphasizes that for her and something that she'll be able to take away.
And of course, the other big endorsement that Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler has.
There's a lot of Republicans running for the Senate. I know all of them. I've decided to support Vicky Hartzler.
That's Josh Hawley. That's a big endorsement. Josh Hawley enjoys a tremendous amount of respect here in Missouri. And I'm wondering, what are we, 5 weeks out from the primary? August the 2nd is the primary. Do you know who it is that you're voting yet? You can text us 874-9390. You can say yes. You can say no, I don't know who I'm voting for. Are you waiting for a Trump endorsement to decide who to vote on? And the other thing that now I start to wonder, because I got to tell you, me personally, and usually in the primaries, I try not to get too involved, we've got some really good candidates, really. And I honestly believe that. I'm not just blowing smoke up the Republican Party's rear end. I think we've got some really good candidates. And I think I've got it narrowed down to a couple. I'm not 100% sure when I walk into my polling place out there on WW on August the 2nd. I don't know which little circle I'm going to scribble in yet. I think I've got it down without saying, do you know yet?
I think so.
I think so. So not 100%.
Not 100%.
Yeah. Hannah, what about you?
I am between 2 candidates.
2? Okay. How many is it for you?
2.
2? For me, it's 2. I'll bet you steak dinner it's the same, too, for all 3 of us. And then we've got the 4th Congressional District race. As we mentioned, Kalina Bruce, she's a rancher, like a 3rd-generation rancher, Western Missouri. She's running for the seat that Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler has. Taylor Burks, local guy, formerly served as Boone County Clerk. He's also in that race. And then the TV guy, Mark Alford, he's coming out with some bold statements.
Apparently, he's claiming that he's the MAGA king, which is that different than Ultra MAGA? Is that also on a T-shirt? That's what I want to know.
Because now there's levels. Yeah, I'm a MAGA supporter. I believe the MAGA ideas. All right, make America great again. Does not. By the way, when people say MAGA, I wish they'd get it right. They're trying to say it's a bad. Oh, they're Ultra MAGA. They're a MAGA supporter. MAGA, what does MAGA stand for? Make America Great Again. That does not necessarily mean you are a Trump supporter. But the other side, that's their way of thinking, well, MAGA means make America great again. Isn't everybody, even somebody who's far liberal in their mind, even though they have way different and misguided ideas about what makes America great again, isn't everybody MAGA? Make America Great Again?
I think, restate, because I think he said he was the MAGA king. He just says he's a MAGA king. So you can be a MAGA king too, Branden. But I'm wondering then, who's the MAGA queen, right?
Good question. Double MAGA king with cheese, please. So that's some of what's happening in these races. In that 4th Congressional District race, I'll tell you, when I start thinking, I don't know where you are, 874-9390. Seriously, reach out and text us. Do you know where you are in that Senate race? You don't have to tell us who, but I'm just curious, do you know who? Well, you're 5 weeks away. I'm still not sure. But here's the good thing that makes me feel either way, it's going to be a good choice for 2 reasons. We've got good candidates, and I'm a pretty smart guy. So I think I made a good choice. But then what about the 4th Congressional District race? What about that? Really good candidates. A lot of me wants to say, well, it's Taylor Burks. It's the local guy because I've known him. I've known him personally for a long time. I know what kind of human being he is. And that's sometimes where these things can get a little cloudy because I've known good people that maybe can't get things done. And there's some people that I have dealt with in politics over the years that they can maybe get stuff done, but the abrasiveness and all the baggage, it's like, no, we don't need that. Do you know where you are in the 4th Congressional District race?
I think so.
Okay. All right. I've got it down to about 6. How many are in the race? And what I'm wondering, too, I'm excited to chat with Audria Taylor Decker. She is a young voting expert. She's on the show tomorrow, 7:35. I do hope you'll join us for that because she's not just a voting, talking head. I mean, she really drills down on younger voters. And I'm wondering, with these Supreme Court rulings that have been coming out recently, and I'll say this, as distasteful as a lot of people might think it is, most polling, for what polling is worth, the majority of Americans are okay with abortion in certain circumstances. Most Americans are. You can go and find the polls yourself. And I'm wondering, is that something that's going to change people's minds, especially younger voters? Or is it the economy? Because the economy affects every single person within earshot this morning. We are glad that you can join us here this morning on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, up to 91 today for the high. Coming up about 5 minutes from now, did your car make the top 5 in the J.D. Power's initial quality survey? They do this, every year. Cars and their initial quality.
Everyone else takes it too seriously. Thank God you get it. This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, 93.9 The Eagle.
I think that there can be no higher priority than what we have been clear is our highest priority.
Clear as mud? There's no high priority than what we've been clear is our highest priority. In fairness. Huh? I know. See, that's why I was thinking, am I missing something here? Because that's usually the first issue. Like if I have a problem with a computer, I go to Hannah. First thing Hannah asks me.
Have you tried restarting it?
So I think Kamala needs a restart, a reset. Our highest priority. There's no highest priority than the highest priority we have tried doing. It's like, remember when she was appointed the border czar? That was her highest priority. And look at the work that she's done there.
Huh?
Welcome into the show. There's Stephanie Bell. That's Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. Brian Hauswirth going to be joining us coming up latest on this train derailment in Sheraton County. He will have that for you. Then John Brunner, a retired U.S. Marine. He joins us 7:10. He has made an endorsement in the U.S. Senate race. Who is John Brunner endorsing? We're going to find out coming up at 7:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. I'm wondering if your car made, the J.D. Power and Associates, they come out with initial quality. In other words, they go and people buy a car, and like within the first year, they ask about the quality of the car, making the top 5. And I'm always expecting Toyota, Honda, and all that. Top 5. Kia is in there. Chevrolet, Dodge. Number 1 for initial quality, Buick. Any of us drive?
Really?
Yeah. Right?
I can't help but notice a lack of Ford.
Yeah, and I think about what I'm driving. I'm like, that's not on there. What you drive, is that on the top 5?
Chevrolet, number 3.
Number 3. Hannah?
Chevy.
Well, I guess mine is GM, but it's almost as old as Hannah's.
And it's not very fuel efficient, is it?
And it's not very fuel efficient. Thank goodness for Gap's Automotive Repair Shop for keeping that stuff on the road. John Brunner ran for governor in 2016. Made an endorsement in the U.S. Senate race. Who is it? We find out coming up at 7:10. When you start a new job, normally you have to wait for all those awesome benefits to kick in, but not at Hitachi Energy because they value all their employees, even the new ones, which is why pay starts at $21 to $25 an hour with a $3,000 phase signing bonus, benefits day 1. Hitachi Energy not only inspires the world, you inspire them. Apply today in Jeff City or online, hitachienergy.com/careers. Inspire your future, inspire the next. Hitachi Energy. And it starts with the facility, by the way. It's climate controlled for all seasons, which means it's always a comfortable place to work. And not every place can say that, by the way. Let Hitachi inspire the next step in your career. Hitachi Energy's pay starts at $21 an hour and benefits starting day 1. Apply today in Jefferson City or online at Hitachi Energy. Hitachi Energy, inspire your future. Inspire the next.
A plea and a warning. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Ukraine's president has just addressed the NATO summit asking for more weapons and help fighting off Russia's invasion. Volodymyr Zelensky warning if they don't, they'll face a delayed war with Russia themselves. President Biden says,
"Today I'm announcing the United States will enhance our force posture in Europe.
The U.S. will add a permanent base and send more warships and fighter jets.
During this summit, they're going to further augment our collective strength."
As they get ready to add Finland and Sweden to the military alliance now that Turkey's dropped its opposition. The Secret Service is joining former President Trump, refuting some of the dramatic testimony at a House Capitol riot hearing that he calls phony.
Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide in the White House Chief of Staff's office, told the committee yesterday another White House staffer told her that he had heard about an altercation between former President Trump and his security detail when they told him it was too dangerous for him to go to the Capitol on January 6th.
The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel.
However, a source close to the Secret Service tells Fox News the two agents in question are prepared to testify that did not happen.
That's Fox's Jack Callahan. Hutchinson also told the Democrat-led committee the then-president was told some protesters he addressed at a rally that day had weapons. In Colorado, a state rep who attended the January 6th protests, Ron Hanks, lost in the Republican Senate primary. Joe O'Dea won the race, trying to unseat a Democrat this fall.
When the chips are down, Michael Bennett does whatever Joe Biden wants him to do.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert won a Republican challenge in Colorado. Utah Senator Mike Lee defeated his GOP primary challengers as well. We're saving another penny at the pump. Gas down a 15th straight day. AAA's national average for regular is now 15 cents less than the $5.01 per gallon record high. America's listening to Fox News.
The economy is headed directly for a disaster. The Fed can either raise rates to lower inflation and trigger a stock and housing market crash, or it can keep rates low and potentially cause hyperinflation. That is why you must take action to protect your savings right now. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to diversify your retirement account out of paper assets and into physical gold. The Birch Gold Group IRA is what I recommend to all my family and friends. And today, Birch Gold is giving away a free information kit about how gold IRAs work. To get your free copy, just text the word PROTECT to 989898. It's crucial for you to get this information before an economic disaster is in full swing. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required, so do it now. Text PROTECT to 989898. Action, action, action. Use your agency. Take action today.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03, and we have a beautiful morning right now in mid-Missouri, but it is going to warm up pretty quickly today. Our high will be up into the 90s. 67 right now in Columbia. It is already 69 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. We begin with our infant death update here in Columbia. My predecessor, Brad Trinago, reported this, and you may recall the baby's name at the time was Jane Doe, because they did not have a name of this child that was found, the remains up near McKnight Tire. Brad covered that extensively back in 2019. Columbia police are crediting the community and a letter found at a local Super 8 right now for providing a major lead in solving the infant's murder. Those remains found in a tire back in 2019 in a backpack. The parents of infant Simone Daniels are jailed without bond this morning. They are charged in connection with her death. More on their charges in a moment. I did ask Columbia's Police Chief Jeff Jones if investigators have determined a cause of death as of yet.
We definitely have a theory based on statements provided to the investigators. We're going to wait until the medical examiner and the anthropologists are able to work with our investigators to make that final determination. We don't have it yet.
The chief broke down several times yesterday at the podium. He could not continue talking. I counted at least 3 times where he had to stop the press conference to compose himself. Several of the investigators behind him were also crying during the briefing. Stefan Fountain of St. Joseph is charged with first-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse. 28-year-old Lavasha Daniels of St. Louis is charged with 2 felonies, including abandonment of a corpse. The chief tells 93.9 The Eagle he does not believe there are additional suspects in this case. There's one other key aspect of this story, and that is the fact that these court documents in the case are sealed. I did go down to the Boone County Courthouse yesterday, requested the documents. I was told that those are a level 6. That means they are not public record at this time. Once they are, we'll have information on it, but we have no other details of the murder at this time and no word on when the two suspects will be arraigned. Now to Menden, where the National Transportation Safety Board's 14-member team is at the site still of Monday's deadly collision between an Amtrak train and a dump truck in northern Missouri's Sheridan County. NTSB has been interviewing the train crew. The collision at the uncontrolled crossing with no lights, killing 4 now. It's also injured 150 others. The presiding commissioner of Sheridan County, Evan Emmerich, says residents and county officials have been pushing for a safety upgrade at that location for at least 3 years. A Columbia businessman who grew up in Sheridan County is praising the government's response to the train derailment on Monday. He describes it as highly coordinated. Philip Smith, who owns Peak Sport and Spine here in Columbia, arrived at the scene after the derailment. He tells me he wasn't able to help in near the fashion that others were.
The government response was incredible. The county response, the state response, the highway patrol. I didn't know we had that many highway patrol in the state.
Philip Smith tells me that farmer and volunteer firefighter Adam Mosey was one of the first on scene. He says he literally jumped off his tractor to get there to administer CPR to the dump truck driver before that truck driver passed away. Congressman Sam Graves also keeping in close touch with the National Transportation Safety Board. He represents that area in the Congress. He has expressed his concern about the injuries and also the fatalities. He's also saying he's keeping in close touch with the Federal Railroad Administration. In Columbia area residents will soon have a Hawaiian dining option. Hawaiian Bros Island Grill is building a new restaurant at the former Jack in the Box location. It's near Grindstone, right next to the Goodwill store. Sign on the road says the store is coming soon. Chesterfield-based Knoble Construction is handling the project. Their menu will feature a traditional plate lunch with white rice, macaroni salad, and your choice of protein. Menu will also feature Honolulu chicken. Hawaii Brothers is also looking for employees for their store. Now, they have 6 stores in Missouri. This will be the 7th store. The other 6 are located in the Kansas City area. The big one is on Ward Parkway. There's also a big store in Belton, but again, this will be the first one outside of the Kansas City metro. Our news is brought to you in the 7 o'clock hour by the Candy Factory. The Candy Factory is in downtown Columbia. Learn more, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. In sports, Cardinals and the Marlins have a chance. The Cardinals do have a chance to sweep this series coming up tonight. Normally, in a getaway game, especially with a day off coming up tomorrow, an idle game, they normally play during the day. Not today. It'll be an evening game, 6:45 first pitch. 93.9 The Eagle as the Cardinals take on Miami. Rangers over the Royals last night by a score of 8-3. And by the way, the Cardinals beat the Marlins last night 5-3. Rangers over the Royals 8-3. They will play today at Kauffman Stadium at 1:10. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Atterbury Auction and Realty. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 7:08. All right, John, thank you. Partly sunny. It's 68. 7:09 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Our road's pretty quiet, mid-Missouri. We'll have another update coming your way at 7:31. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
So it's just a very small people who get engaged, and they make a big difference. And so at this point in time, I want to be a solution. I just don't want to be another car in the demolition derby. But I love being engaged. I love going across the state. In fact, I've turned down a number of radio interviews, and you folks are so persistent. I thought, well, and good friends, I'll give you a call this morning and just kind of give an update what's going on.
Hey, and look who we found again. Mr. John Brunner, 2016 gubernatorial candidate, joining us on the show. John, that was from our last conversation, and as we welcome you into Wake Up Columbia here on 93.9 The Eagle, do you get the sense that we're bugging you sometimes?
No, not at all. It's good to be with everybody and your listeners. I miss those good days going across the state. And, in fact, you're the first radio interview of the year, so I know what it is about you guys, but called Persistence are just a great show.
And Karen, your assistant Karen, she deserves some kudos, too. John Brunner joining us on the show. He's amazing. She is amazing. Served in the United States Marine Corps. He was an infantry officer. Ended his career as a captain. Ran for governor in 2016. And I'll tell you, as a personal aside, during my time with him in 2016 when he was running for governor and the conversations we've had since then, I've always appreciated him because personally, the political stuff aside, we agree on a lot of the political stuff. I also find him to be a stand-up man. But we're having you on the show this morning. We're like, 4-5 weeks from our U.S. Senate primary, August the 2nd. A lot of folks waiting for some big endorsements. John Brunner's endorsement can be huge. You have made an endorsement. Who is it that you're encouraging people to vote for in our U.S. Senate primary?
Well, I'm endorsing Eric Schmitt, and really on a couple of key areas, character and competence. We forget about both of those. And I tell you, he's really the best attorney general in the United States. He has fought the Biden administration on dozens of court cases, and he won a case at the Supreme Court on this whole OSHA vaccine mandate issue. A great family man and a solid Christian, pro-life. And I tell you, I know all the other candidates as well. And at the end of the day, like you guys were talking, I think it's important to take a stand. When I was running for office, I can't tell you the people who are saying, well, I'll wait to see how the wind blows, and if you win the primary, I'll back you up. Well, no, the battle is right here in the primary, and I just think we have an opportunity, as you guys mentioned earlier on your show. There are a lot of good people running, not just in the U.S. Senate race, but also in congressional races. It's a pretty good field of candidates. But at the end of the day, if you don't pick the best, you may end up with something worse than the worst.
Have you gotten any flack-in since you have endorsed Attorney General Eric Schmitt for the U.S. Senate race? Have you been getting flack from other folks, Republicans, namely saying, John, you're supposed to stay out of primary, stuff like that? Have you got any of that?
Not really. And I tell you, I think I have a history and a personality of continuing to build bridges and reach out to everyone. As I said, I've had many conversations with all the U.S. Senate candidates except for one. And, I know Vicki's doing a good job in her area, and she just got her endorsements there. I think at the same time we got endorsements from Eric Schmitt, from Ted Cruz, and Senator Mike Lee as well. And so it's a good race out there. At the end of the day, I would suggest that the voters need to start to consolidate, like you indicated, that the biggest number out there, the biggest polling number is undecided. And maybe this show and you guys can help turn the tide a little bit.
2016 gubernatorial candidate Mr. John Brunner joining us on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle to talk about his endorsement for Eric Schmitt for the Senate.
Now, I think I just heard you say that the voters need to consolidate, but is there any, should the candidates consolidate? Should those candidates who are polling, under 10% at this time realize that, we might get a candidate that, for significantly under the majority, and should they consider withdrawing or supporting a different candidate if there is no path to success? And at the same time, are there folks out there that, that you think are asking candidates to go ahead and withdraw to try to get a candidate that the majority of Missourians can support?
That's a great question, and it's a normal question. It's a logical, rational question, but, this is politics. And I knew firsthand, first in the Senate race in a three-way primary and the governor's race in a four-way primary, you're thinking, my word, at least Missouri should have a runoff, like Arkansas and other states. And if you don't have a runoff, if you don't get 50% plus one vote, then you end up with less than 30% of the people in Missouri deciding the next candidate. And you're not going to get the very best one that way. So your logic is compelling, but I tell you, there's everybody in politics they feel they all need to stay in, and that some way they're going to get across the finish line. But I wish you could have more influence than me on this. It'd make all the sense.
Mr. Brunner, thanks for tuning in. I want to ask you about the 2016 race and maybe compare it here, the primary, because in 2016, Greitens got 35% of the vote. You polled at 25%, Hanaway at 20%, and then Kinder at 21%. Four-way primary. Fast forward to now, 2022, 21 candidates are on the ballot. Not four, I said it right, 21 are on the ballot. Are there parallels from 2016 to now, and could Greitens win this race in this crowded primary?
I think the parallels are exactly right. I think your analogy, and yes, you mentioned about 20 people, but there's only top 4 or 5 that to talk about. Let's say top 4. And if the parallels is exact. And here's the tragic situation we face here in Missouri is if we don't step forward and get behind maybe your second best or the top best, and begin to consolidate. If these undecided don't begin to demonstrate where they are and what they want to do and who they want to support, we may end up with a less than best choice. And there's a possibility for those on the Republican conservative side to lose a seat in Washington, D.C. So get out there, check out these candidates, meet with them. And again, I'm compelled to support Eric Schmitt, as he's a fighter. He's demonstrated what he's been able to do. He continues to get out there. And it always would say, what's the best indication of future actions, or what have you done in the past? And he's done a great job and will continue to do a good job. And we have a good candidate with Eric Schmitt. I hope people will consider him.
Did you get several folks in the race coming to you and saying, hey, John, can I get your backing? Did you go to Eric specifically? How did all of that play out?
You know, it was interesting. Really, for the most part, they all called me, and I'm open to talking with everyone. I've had dinner with a few of them, and wonderful conversations. And, I tell you, it goes back, even when I was running for office, I had people come up to me and say, John, I've never voted Republican in my life. I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I'm voting for you. And so I feel I'm a bridge builder. And so when I took the step to endorse Eric Schmitt, I said, how's that going to affect my relationship with all these folks? But I think I still have that good relationship. I respect them. And so going forward, at the end of the day, if I don't step forward, then how can I expect other people to step forward? And I want people to step forward with me when I was in the primary race. So I think you made some great comments, and we've got to consolidate, and we got to get behind who's going to be the most effective there in Washington, D.C.
All right, John Brunner, what have you been doing? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I tell you, after the campaign, I got involved in an organization, got it turned around, and the fast story is we got 273 people elected to state legislative positions across the United States. I'm very involved with young people, college kids, and to win 273 state rep races was just fantastic. Had a lot of fun doing that. And bring it back home. Now my son, he's running for state rep in the 101st district. So we got another John Brunner there. Maybe he'll be a lot more effective and win this place than I was. So
John Brunner with a sense of some self-deprecation there from John Brunner, gubernatorial candidate from 2016. And since we'll let you go here. I know you're busy. You do a lot of work with young people, and I know that's something you've done for a long time, and now kind of in the political realm. I'm curious, Supreme Court rulings, whether it's the football coach praying, whether it's the abortion ruling, because we're expecting a red tidal wave in the midterms 2022, do you think that any of these issues might temper that red wave?
I don't think so. I think that the real hardworking families in America, the taxpayers, the patriotic folks are out there are going to get behind it. What's that movie that just came out? Gosh, you guys got to help me. That fighter pilot movie.
Maverick?
What's the name of that?
Maverick?
Yeah, right. $1 billion. People are looking for patriotism, so I think it's going to be good. But I want to temper even the enthusiasm for a red wave to say, there's a spiritual dimension to it all. We all want to see that the next politician is going to save our country, and yet without the spiritual dimension, the moral dimension, I've written this little book called Battlefield Verses, battlefieldverses.com. I've given them away all across the country, around the world, and you can go to my website and give you a free copy. But I just think we need the spiritual side as well as hard-fighting political side, and we can take this country back one state at a time, and it begins right here in Missouri.
Battlefieldverses.com, or we can go to your website.
And maybe give you some encouragement through the tough times. We're all in the battlefields of life. We recognize our military, and we're proud of them, but there's a lot of hurting folks. I just read the story this morning about the editor of American Spectator. Her child is just going in for chemo treatment and all the pain and suffering that she's feeling. And, so there's a lot of hurting people out there. Politics is not going to solve everything. And we need the spiritual side along with the political side.
Yeah, ultimately, we want to be okay with ourselves. We want to make sure that we're living life in a way that we are comfortable, in a way that we have a clear conscience, and we right any wrongs and then try to help other people. John Brunner, 2016 gubernatorial candidate. And by the way, I'll mention this and we'll let you. I'll mention two things. Please thank your assistant, Karen, for us. She is a huge help. Thank you, because I know you get a lot of requests, and I know you don't do this a lot. So I think I speak on behalf of Hannah, the producer, and Mr. Hauswirth and Stephanie Bell that we're always very appreciative that you choose to come on to Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle. And since you served our country so valiantly in the Marines and still continue to serve our country, we did our Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon last Friday, something we do every year, and I know you're familiar with the Honor Flight. We're approaching $100,000 was raised almost during our event. So I just wanted to brag on us a little bit. That's the point of that.
Well, you need to give a shout out how others can make a donation, and I might have to listen in and help support you guys.
Well, thank you. John Brunner, very appreciative of your time.
Thank you, guys. It's been great being with you, and keep on fighting and don't give up.
All right, thank you. Battlefieldverses.com. And I think you still can make a donation. The Central Missouri Honor Flight link is still up on our website, 939theeagle.com. Look for Central Missouri Honor Flight, and I believe we are still taking donations there. Thanks to Steve's Pest Control. Coming up, we are going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah.
If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is, especially when it comes to buying a house.
Download the 93.9 The Eagle app and listen to Wake Up Columbia everywhere. It's easy to do. Geez, even Branden figured it out. 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning at 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know, even Stephanie didn't get to What's Hot with Hannah until 7:28.
Fist bump, bud.
What do you mean fist bump?
And if you're by the way, you can watch this show on our YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle, and you would see that we did actually just fist bump. It's a real thing, man. Watch the show on our YouTube channel.
You know, if something seems too good to be true, especially online, it probably is too good to be true.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Have you heard of the website Zillow?
Yeah.
It's basically like a real estate website where you can list your houses for sale or whatever. Well, there was a $2.3 million home listed on Zillow for $21,000.
Uh-oh.
And the family living in the house did not list the house. Scammers were trying to sell their multi-million-dollar home for, $20,000, and they thought that they could get away with that somehow.
Where's the BBB when you need them?
Right. The listing was up for almost a full day before, the family finally caught on to it. And it had been saved over 1,000 times by people interested in looking at this house.
So that's kind of like when somebody would post an ad on Craigslist. Hey, we're doing a yard sale at Stephanie's house Saturday morning, and it starts at 5 a.m. That's next level.
And then people show up at Stephanie's house at 5 a.m.
on a Saturday. Coming up 5 minutes from now, we're going to be chatting with Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol, the latest on that train derailment.
Stop by Club Car Wash today to get an unlimited membership for just $20 a month. See more details at clubcarwash.com. It's 65 degrees.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Biden at the NATO summit in Spain announces more U.S. military presence in Europe, establishing a permanent army headquarters in Poland, adding air presence in the United Kingdom, and naval operations in Spain. Sweden and Finland, meantime, are formally invited to join the military alliance.
The decision to move away from neutrality and the tradition of neutrality to join NATO alliance is going to make us stronger and more secure, and NATO stronger.
It needs the approval of every NATO member legislature. All House incumbents win their primaries in Colorado.
That includes 3rd District Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Moving east to Oklahoma's Republican Senate primary, Congressman Mark Wayne Mullins got less than a majority. He'll be in a runoff against T.W. Shannon to see who faces Democrat Kendra Horn for the retiring James Inhofe's Senate seat.
Fox's Gernal Scott. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31. Robinson saves you time. Beautiful morning right now, but it is going to be a warm one here in Columbia. More humid as well today. We're already at 68 degrees in Columbia on our way today to a high in the low 90s. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 7 o'clock hour. Charges have been filed against the parents of a Columbia infant whose remains were found in a tire on North Providence Road in 2019. An emotional Columbia Police Chief Jeff Jones announcing the charges on Tuesday at City Hall. The chief says that the infant Simone Daniels was murdered at a Red Roof Inn near I-70 here in town.
Stefan Fountain, 30 of St. Joseph, is charged with first-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse. He was arrested by the St. Joseph Police Department and is in their custody without bond. Labasha Monique Daniels, 28 of St. Louis, is charged with abandonment of a corpse and first-degree endangering of the welfare of a child.
Now, Fountain is currently on probation for stealing. Because of the murder charge, his probation is expected to be revoked. He'll likely be sent back to prison to serve his stealing condition. The court documents, stealing conviction, court documents in the infant's murder remained sealed this morning. Meantime, a Columbia businessman who grew up in Sheraton County praises the government's response to Monday's deadly train derailment. He describes it as highly coordinated. Philip Smith owns Peak Sport and Spine here in town, grew up in the Menden area. 4 people dead, 150 others injured after that train derailment that took place in Menden. Our news is brought to you this hour by WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:33. In sports, the Cardinals beat the Marlins last night by a score of 5-3. St. Louis with a chance to sweep the series tonight in Game 3 at Busch Stadium. First pitch, 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Scott Warman will have your pregame coverage about 5:50 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. The Rangers beat the Royals at Kauffman Stadium. 8-3 was the final score there. They'll play again today in the third game of the series. Rangers look awfully good right now. 1:10 will be the first pitch today at the K at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. If you're going there, make sure you stay hydrated. It's going to be a warm one today. The sports is brought to you by Tiger Towing. When you can't get going, call Tiger Towing, 573-449-3754. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. The overnight road work has wrapped up that took place on 63. Quite a bit of work on both sides of 63, all the way from Broadway all the way out to Grindstone. They were out there from about 9 o'clock last night, wrapped up a little after 6 o'clock this morning. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Something very unexpected. I'm still stunned, shocked that it happened, especially considering that it's our first time. Usually everyone's first time with anything kind of goes well, but the fact that this event happened, it just still leaves me kind of mesmerized. It's still setting in that this was real.
That's Antoine Patton chat with our news partners, ABC 17. He was a passenger on that Amtrak train that derailed. So Menden, roughly an hour west of Moberly, a quick dog leg up to the north a little bit. And incidentally, he was telling ABC 17, he's like, it's the first time I've ever been on a train. And so that was his experience. He was okay. We're trying to learn the latest. We know right now there are at least 16 crew members from the NTSB that are scouring that scene right now this morning. But we want to bring in right now Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol, to get the latest from what we know from then. Lieutenant Brown, thank you for your time here on the show. I know it's been very hectic, emotional few days for you. And I know, so you were on scene after this had happened. Can you kind of set this up for a little bit and just kind of tell us what you were seeing when you arrived on scene the other day?
Yeah, it was an extremely impressive response for a very rural area from law enforcement, first responders, fire departments, medics, full-time fire departments, volunteer fire departments. The massive amount of people they were able to put together in a short period of time for the surrounding counties was really, really good to see as they worked to, as quickly as possible, help those passengers on Monday afternoon. The response was great. Helicopters from all across the state, and I believe even a couple came from outside the area to help transport people. And then the members of the community, the restaurants, the Northwestern School at Mended, the school buses that were provided to help transport people, the school opening up to have a safe place for the passengers to be while they awaited transportation from the area, the churches, all that response was an amazing show of support, from that community.
Yeah, and that's a story I've heard more than once over the past less than 48 hours at this point. So while you're on scene, did you have any opportunity to chat with folks that were on the train that were able to walk away okay?
Yeah, we had obviously a lot of investigators and the support personnel from various agencies there working with the passengers. I was busy handling other things, not processing the passengers or interviewing any of them. But what I did see was a surprising amount of order and calm. Obviously, a very scary event for the people that were on that train, the crew, that's on that train working. But as the situation unfolded, the amount of calm, the amount of those folks who didn't even know each other, helping out, providing support, food, water, phone chargers. No one was arguing. Everybody was as calm and as collected as they could be as they worked through that event and trying to figure out where they were going to be from that point forward, how they were going to get home, where their next trip was going to be, and contacting family and them was okay. It was really pretty amazing to see how well everything went.
Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol. He spent the past couple of days in Menden following that Amtrak train derailment. Can you so I've seen some of the pictures, but you've been there. I mean, is this almost literally, I'm trying to figure out this area, is this almost literally in the middle of cornfields where this happened?
That's correct. It is the predominantly agriculture area there where they were at. It's a river bottom area. That is prone to flooding, so it's very flat. Nothing but corn and beans and sites in any direction really while you're there.
Lieutenant, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time, and I know you're very busy up there. I'd like you to describe that crossing for our listeners specifically, and I know Branden asked you about the area, but I'm talking about is it a straightaway? Because we've had some listeners who have indicated there's a turn not far from there, and I'm curious about the line of sight. Is there vegetation that is difficult to see? Because we've had listeners say that there have been close calls there in the past.
Sure, and it's going to be really hard to describe, without having a picture and being able to show the area.
I understand.
And of course, by the time I got there, it was drastically different with the amount of work that was being done and cleaning up and providing a place for equipment to be and things such as that. But it is a gravel road. It is a well-maintained gravel road. 2 tractor trailers can go down at the same time. The grade crossing is raised as the railroad tracks are up in the air because it's in a floodplain, and it is at a slight angle. But as far as the line of sight and things like that are there, that's something that will be well documented by the NTSB.
So you talked about what order and how calm everyone was. Is there something you can pinpoint? Because obviously, I mean, I don't know how you train for a train derailment in a remote area, and what types of trainings then led you and led others to conduct such an orderly response. Is it training? Is it communication? Is it coordination among the various levels of response teams? I mean, what was it that helped that day?
It's all those things. It's excuse me. It's the agencies training together, working together. Throughout the course of the days and the years. It's training that's put on by railroad associations. It's training that's put on by SEMA, tabletop exercises. Just the things that agencies do throughout the year that most of the public is not aware of, that's ongoing, that helps to prepare you for when you have a critical incident like this occur. And you always look back and think, okay, we can do these things better next time. But when you're prepared, you're ready to go, it helps out tremendously. And then when you have the outpouring of support from all the surrounding agencies, which we can't even begin to name because we'll definitely miss some, when all that help arrives, it helps to keep that situation as calm as possible and helps the leaders on scene coordinate the efforts and the transportation of people and the assignment of duties.
And again, the other thing to consider, I mean, we're talking Menden, which is basically it's a village. It's kind of situated between Carrollton and Moberly and Sheraton County, and I think Sheraton County population less than 10,000. I might be so that gives you an idea regarding trying to get resources to such a rural area on a dirt road in the middle of cornfields. Literally remarkable effort. And again, some of these questions we ask, we understand there are some things you can't answer at this time as the investigation moves forward with the NTSB. Do we know anything about the dump truck? Do we know, did it stall on the tracks? Was it just bad timing with the two? Do we know, did it stall?
Don't have exact information on that yet. Obviously, the patrol's investigators at the scene, we're working on making that determination for our crash report. Our major crash team was also there doing some mapping efforts as well. And the NTSB will do a lengthy investigation into that as well. So, even though we're a couple days into this, it's still too early to make an exact determination of how and why this crash occurred.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I know there's not a whole lot more you can say, and Brandon's question is a great one about the dump truck because it hit the very tail end, by the way, of the dump truck, the very tail end of the dump truck, and then that's what caused the derailment. If we could get from you the closest numbers you have, not now on the air, but sometime today or tomorrow, I'd like because it's difficult to find these. I'm trying to get the most accurate information. How many train vehicle collisions we've seen in Missouri in, let's say, the last year or two, and specifically fatalities. If you guys, I'm sure you guys have that information somewhere. If we could get that, Lieutenant, I'd like to get that number.
Yep, we can absolutely work on that for you.
Thank you.
All right, this is our guest is Lieutenant Eric Brown, Missouri State Highway Patrol. Is there anything else you want to add that we didn't cover? We know a lot of folks, even some of our local hospitals, were very complimentary of the responses from everybody involved in this very rural area to the north of us here in mid-Missouri. Anything else that you would like to add, or anything that we here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle can do to be of service or to help?
Yeah, it's just really a thank you to. There's so many people that were involved in this. As anyone who was active in social media and watching the news in their areas where they live at, even though they may be 2, 3, 4 counties away from where this incident occurred, you saw support going to the hospitals, as some of the rural hospitals in Macon and Brookfield, Chillicothe were calling all their help in as they were getting a large number of injured parties to their hospital to be treated, and just the support that those outlying areas were getting from their community to assist in this event with food, places to stay, with clergy and nurses that came to the safety centers at the school and some churches I know where people went to, helping provide support to these people that were in need, even those that were uninjured that found themselves in a very rural area in the middle of Missouri in a tragic incident, and looking for assistance and trying to get their way home. Also, the response, from Amtrak was very good and very fast as they provide support to their passengers, making arrangements for places for them to stay, transportation to hotels, transportation back home. And then, there's a lot of officials there still at the scene from the NTSB, the Federal Railroad Administration, Amtrak, various other construction workers and BNSF crews that have a large job ahead of them as they work to clear up this scene and get that railroad back open. So we ask that people also avoid that area and stay away so those crews can work safely and return that area back to normal.
According to Amtrak, almost, between crew and passengers, almost 300 people on that train, 300 different stories. One of the stories we heard earlier, a guy lives in California and was on a train going to Chicago. And again, you think about some of these things afterwards. Here's this young guy trying to get to a wedding in Chicago to see the wedding of some loved ones, and he's stuck in mid-Missouri. Lieutenant Eric Brown, you have you know how to get in touch with us. You have my cell phone number. I believe you have Brian Hauswirth's contact info. Please, if there is anything that we can do to help as it relates to the public, please let us know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to visit with you this morning.
All right. Thank you. Mike Spencer was chatting with our news partners, ABC 17, and even chatting with Fox. So apparently Mike Spencer, I think, was one of the first things that Stephanie kind of discovered yesterday regarding that actual railroad crossing. Apparently there had been some, I don't want to say issues, but some concerns, perhaps might be a better way to put it, about that particular crossing.
Yeah, we had a listener text in and say, hey, I saw this post a couple weeks ago on Facebook about what I think is that same crossing. And it was Mike Spencer. And he said, look, this is, I have concerns. It's, not well, what did he say? Not well marked. I've been raising this with the county folks, the railroad folks. The trains come through very fast. The approach, isn't the best, and it has me concerned.
This is Mike Spencer.
I put the burden on BNSF Railroad because we had contacted them numerous times over the last 7 or 8 years.
That's Mike Spencer, Mendon, Missouri, talking to Fox News. We hope that everybody is okay. And again, if there's folks that are in that area that are listening or doing some stuff that are going out, it's amazing the number of people like from Jefferson City and Columbia and from Fulton that rushed up to that area just to be able to help. Coming up about 5 minutes from now, big day, this day, and I don't like to do this day in history because it makes me feel like an old white dude. But 15 years ago, something pretty big happened, and I think Steph and Hannah are going to be 15 years ago. Hannah, how old were you 15 years ago?
7.
7 years old. Big day in history. We'll get into that coming up about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle.
I don't. It's such another lifetime ago. I can't tell you now the emotion I had, right as he came walking out. I just can't tell you that. But you're right. It's something that I don't want to remember. It was all just so traumatic.
And I bet it was more traumatic for the folks that he shot. That's John Hinckley. First major interview since he's been completely released of parole, probation, all that good stuff. Chatting with CBS's Major Garrett. He was the guy who tried assassinating President Reagan. And he says, I don't remember, and it was pretty traumatic. Yeah, it was traumatic for a lot of people. Welcome into the show. Glad you could be here. Hard to believe it's been 15 years ago, but this is kind of a big date in history. And Hannah, do you know what this is yet?
I don't.
All right. Well, I think you're going to dig this.
I do. The iPhone officially can apply for its learner's permit to drive today.
Yay!
Yay!
15 years.
Yeah. That's hard. I feel old. It's hard to believe. But look at you, still don't even. You're still a dinosaur. You still don't have an iPhone.
I still got the Droid. And this particular phone that I have, which is a Samsung Galaxy S8. It's funny. Last year, I went to go try to buy a new case for it. I said, what kind of phone you have? It's Galaxy S8. And they laughed because they're up to, I don't know where they are now. But no, I still have the Droid because I'm an old guy, and that's the...
Well, and I would say you just don't want to learn how to use a new phone, but you don't even know how to use your phone. So I don't really know what you're waiting on.
I can make phone calls. I can take pictures, and recently learned how to do stuff on different calendars. I was
gonna bring up the calendar.
Yeah, I still don't have that nailed down.
No, you don't.
Because you can do different calendars and
Google Calendar.
I'll tell you, when I finally decided, I still had the slide phone with the keyboard thing, and I was on an airplane flying from Pensacola, Florida, to Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm sitting on the airplane with this young lady who is probably 17 or 18 years old, and she's sitting there on her phone, and I'm there with my slide phone, which you can do nothing with on an airplane. And all of a sudden she says, oh my gosh, Amy Winehouse died. And I was like, well, how do you know that? And she goes, well, here. And she shows me her phone. It's on the news. I'm like, well, how do you get the news on your phone?
Wow.
So this 17-year-old kid is trying to explain to this 40-something guy how she got the news on it. So I'm not kidding, man. I give her my slide phones. Well, how do I do that on here?
Oh,
are you serious?
Yes, I'm not exaggerating, man. True
but
story.
when even the iPhone early on didn't do like a quarter of what it does today. And I had a BlackBerry, and I could like type messages or whatever, but I couldn't literally work from my phone. And there are some things I can't do from my phone still, but where we've been, where it started and where we are now, insane.
And it's another one of those examples, be like, oh, you'll never be able to have a phone that gets internet and can do all this stuff. And video calling, that's Star Trek.
That you can book airline tickets and take a vacation off of.
They said it couldn't be done. You can't do that. That's never going to work. And here we are, 15 years later. You might have some money. You know, when you find $1 in your pants in the laundry, how cool is that? Imagine finding more than that. Details coming up at 8:10.
Putting more American forces in Europe. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Biden says the U.S. will do to
respond to the changed security environment as well as strengthening our collective security.
He says at the NATO summit in Spain, we'll send more warships and fighter jets, and
in Poland, we're going to establish a permanent headquarters for the U.S. 5th Army Corps.
All this after Russia's invasion. Ukraine's president asked leaders at the summit today for more weapons to help them fight back, warning, if not, that the allies would face a war with Russia themselves later. A Chinese official is accusing NATO of provoking conflict with a Cold War mentality and creating enemies. More dramatic testimony in the House Capitol riot investigation that President Trump calls phony. Fox's Jared Halpern.
Testifying for the House Select Committee, Cassidy Hutchinson says her boss, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, was told about the risk of violence on January 6th.
It was becoming clear to us and to the Secret Service that Capitol Police officers were getting overrun.
And Hutchinson says former President Trump still planned to travel to the Capitol. She was told he became irate when prevented from going.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president. Take me up to the Capitol now."
Hutchinson says she was told Trump even lunged towards the vehicle's steering wheel.
A Secret Service source tells Fox 2 agents are willing to testify that did not happen. There are still 11 survivors hospitalized in Texas, found among the 51 dead migrants crammed inside the back of an 18-wheeler in San Antonio Monday. The Supreme Court could rule next hour on the Biden administration's attempt to end the Trump-era Remain in Mexico border policy for asylum-seeking immigrants. Republican Congressman Pat Fallon from Texas tells Fox if the court allows it.
Basically, we're going to have a de facto open border because what these NGOs and what the progressives are telling the folks that migrate illegally to the country is to claim asylum.
The court has 4 undecided cases left this term. America's listening to Fox News.
The economy is headed directly for a disaster. The Fed can either raise rates to lower inflation and trigger a stock and housing market crash, or it can keep rates low and potentially cause hyperinflation. That is why you must take action to protect your savings right now. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to diversify your retirement account out of paper assets and into physical gold. The Birch Gold Group IRA is what I recommend to all my family and friends. And today, Birch Gold is giving away a free information kit about how gold IRAs work. To get your free copy, just text the word PROTECT to 989898. It's crucial for you to get this information before an economic disaster is in full swing. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required, so do it now. Text PROTECT to 989898. Action, action, action. Use your agency. Take action today.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We continue to warm up here in mid-Missouri. We are expecting sunny skies today. A high into the low 90s. 69 right now in Columbia. It is 70 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Columbia police are crediting a letter that was found this month at a local Super 8 for helping solve the case of an infant death. Infant remains were discovered in a tire near North Providence Road in August 2019. And CPD has always said their main goal was to give the child a name and also to honor her memory. Police Chief Jeff Jones breaking down several times at Tuesday's press conference at City Hall, talking about this case.
Simone J. Daniels, we believe she was between 4 and 5 months old at the time of her death. We believe she had been in the tire since 2017. You have to excuse me, this has had a toll on a lot of us, especially the investigators behind me.
Boone County prosecutors have charged the infant's parents in the case. They are jailed without bond this morning. Stefan Fountain of St. Joseph is charged with first-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse. The mother, Lavasha Daniels of St. Louis, has been arrested by the U.S. Marshals in St. Louis. She's charged with 2 felonies, including abandonment of a corpse. 2 other quick notes on the case. Number 1, we don't know when they will be arraigned because one of them is actually likely going to get sent back to prison because he is on probation. That is Fountain. The other thing is that the court documents in this case are still sealed this morning. I tried to pick up the court documents yesterday. I was told at the Boone County Courthouse these are what's known as a level 6. That means they are not available to the public. They're not a public record at this time. Once they are, we'll pass along those details to you. But at this point, there is no probable cause statement for us to read. The National Transportation Safety Board's 14-member team is at the site of Monday's deadly collision between an Amtrak train and a dump truck in northern Missouri, Sheridan County. It's near Menden. It's about 80 miles northwest of Columbia. NTSB is interviewing the train crew. The collision in an uncontrolled crossing with no lights, killing 4. It has injured 150 others. Sheridan County's presiding commissioner has said that the county has been pushing for a safety upgrade at that location for 3 years. A Columbia businessman who grew up in Sheridan County is praising the government's response to the deadly train derailment. He describes it as highly coordinated. Philip Smith owns Peak Sport and Spine. He arrived at the scene after the derailment. He says he wasn't able to help in near the fashion that others were.
The government response was incredible. The county response, the state response, the highway patrol. I didn't know we had that many highway patrol in the state.
Mr. Smith tells 93.9 The Eagle that farmer and volunteer firefighter Adam Mosey was one of the first on scene, literally jumping off his tractor to get there. Mr. Mosey tried to administer CPR to the dump truck driver before the dump truck driver became unconscious and passed away. First responders from Jefferson City and Cole County also made the trip up to Menden. They pitched in throughout the day.
SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, put out the request for Cole County Emergency Medical Service crews to respond to Monday's train derailment. The crew based in Cole County provided 2 ambulances, 6 EMTs and paramedics, the chief, and a doctor to Menden High School. That's where many of the passengers were taken for initial medical care. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
Our news is brought to you, and John, thank you. Our news brought to you by Callaway Bank. The Callaway Bank, it's with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. In sports, the Cardinals beat the Miami Marlins last night at Busch Stadium by a score of 5-3. They have a chance to sweep the series, and that would really help them in the National League Central Division. You need to beat teams like Miami, and they're trying to do it, trying to get the sweep today. 6:45 is the first pitch tonight on 93.9 The Eagle. That means Scott Warman will have your pregame coverage from the Cardinals Baseball Network at 5:50 here on The Eagle. The Cardinals, by the way, are idle coming up tomorrow. They'll head to the road on Friday, heading out to Philadelphia. The Royals losing to the Rangers 8-3. The final score last night, Kauffman Stadium, Kansas City. Texas and the Royals playing an afternoon game today at the K. The first pitch will be at 1:10 at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. And, of course, the Royals will be wrapping up that series today. Sports is brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash. Visit clubcarwash.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:08. Partly sunny skies, John, thank you, and 70 degrees. 808 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Traffic with midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Our roads are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor, which was causing them to have to clean up. So I grabbed a towel and started wiping the ketchup off of the wall to help the valet out.
All right, that's the bombshell testimony from yesterday that a lot of the national news networks are hanging their hats on. This whole thing is kind of weird anyway because this was a surprise hearing. This wasn't scheduled for the January 6th thing. It was a surprise hearing. And I'll go back to you, and I hope you share this with your friends, whether it's happy hour today or your coworkers. Remember who is in charge of running this thing, okay? Two things to consider. It's people that they're out to get Trump, and the one who's kind of in charge of all of it, a former television network executive producer. And I think, so here's my take on it. Hey, let's do this. Let's do a surprise hearing. Now, we will magically have everything just ready to go, everything we need, and everybody's all going to be in place. But we're going to say it's a surprise hearing. But all this stuff is magically ready to go. That's complete and utter bull, in my opinion.
Right. Like, if there's a scheduled press conference for next week, we're all like, okay. But if suddenly there's a press conference tomorrow, we're all like, okay, what? Something good's coming out. I mean, it just adds that anticipation.
It heightens the excitement. And again, and I'll tell you what the January 6th committee has been very consistent on is, Trump was this. He had aides in his camp that were telling him, hey, listen, there's just nothing substantial to overturn this election. You're going to have to accept this and move forward. They've been on that. They've been on that. They've talked about now the ketchup on the wall. He threw a plate, and that's the big bombshell testimony. He threw a plate, and there was ketchup on the wall in the White. I know I'm trying not to laugh, but and that was Cassidy Hutchinson, by the way, former aide to Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. But it's been interesting. You watch the national news outlets in the Word, you keep seeing bombshell stuff. And I think the other thing, and here's another thing I want you to know, is they're talking about, apparently he, I think it was her, said something to the effect, he grabbed his steering wheel, they were driving, Trump wanted to go a different direction and assault. There's Secret Service agents that are saying, whoa, we're willing to testify that what she said is absolutely not true. So those ketchup on the wall, that's the highlight from yesterday's thing, and they're still showing. But the point, I thought, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll rely on our news director of the Zimmer Radio Network, Brian Hauswirth. I thought the purpose of the committee was to show Trump was responsible for what those people did on January 6th. I thought that was the thing, and they're doing a whole bunch of other things, but they're not doing that. They're not trying, and you can't prove, hey, because I did something, I'm responsible. When you go and commit illegal acts, it's just complete and utter BS. All right, let's move forward. Stephanie Bell is here. Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. State Treasurer Scott Fitzpatrick joining us on the show. I know we're going to talk about some other things, and if this is out of your wheelhouse, let me know. But just somebody that we've known for a while, somebody who is an ardent follower of politics. You're in politics. Do you care to offer up a take on what you have seen so far in these January 6th hearings?
Yeah, I got to be completely honest with you and just say I haven't really watched them. I did see the stuff yesterday that you were just talking about that seemed pretty far-fetched to me. You're talking, we got somebody testifying that's, a few people removed from the actual events that she was testifying about. And as you said, the Secret Service has now, said they've got her. Somebody close to the Secret Service says they're willing to testify, said that didn't happen. So, it's to me, it's kind of just all a production and a sideshow, and we're all busy people. And I don't think a majority of the people in the country have time to really even watch that stuff.
Yeah, and you talk about a sideshow and a production, and to your point, it is a former television executive that is running these hearings, and I think that is clue number one. There's nothing substantive there that says Trump made people do this. I think it's just whiny crybabies that hate Trump, and they're the same kind of people that don't take responsibility for their own actions. I don't have a job. I don't have money. That's all right. Joe's going to give me some. Well, this happened. It's your fault. No ownership, no responsibility. Scott Fitzpatrick, State Treasurer for the state of Missouri. I love whenever we have these visits because every time you're on and we talk about this, we get some incredible success stories, if you will, unclaimed property. Mr. Fitzpatrick, could you talk about for a minute what exactly is unclaimed property? What do you have? How do we get it?
Yeah, so we have over $1 billion. I think we're at $1.1 billion now in unclaimed property that we have in our possession in the state treasurer's office, and it's almost all of it is cash, right? It's money that's come to us from a variety of sources. That a lot of times it can be a check that got mailed to an old address that the person it was intended for never received it, and so it didn't get cashed, and the company that sent it had to turn that over to us. A lot of times it's like a insurance premium refund, or it can be a dividend payment on some stock that somebody owns that didn't make it to the right place. It can be if you move and you forget to, when you close your utility account, you had a deposit with them, they owed you money back, you didn't get it. And so we have, a lot of people in the state. They say 1 in 10, but we have about 6 million owner accounts. A lot of people have more than one piece of unclaimed property. But, we returned this year. The fiscal year ends Thursday. I believe we're going to break $50 million in returns this year, which is a record. We've already broken the record from any prior year, but I think we'll break $50 million. But the thing is, we get $100 million of it in every single year in new unclaimed property. And so we talk about it all the time, but this is the week, this week and next, where we've got the all of the names of new unclaimed property that we've received just in the last year that's over $50 is printed in a paper in every county in the state. And so, it's a good time to look. You can go to showmemoney.com, look at the list, and search your name, search your relative's name, see if you guys have any unclaimed property.
Well, I had to laugh. You said you had broken the record, and I saw this tweet. So the Kansas State Treasurer tweeted out, "Did you know we are this close to breaking the 2019 unclaimed property record?" Our treasurer tweets out, "Been there, done that last week." So any hate we can throw to Kansas, I like to see that.
Anytime you can throw shade at Kansas, you kind of have to take the opportunity. So.
State Treasurer Scott Fitzpatrick is here. And by the way, and every time that we talk about this, basically 1 to 2 times a year, we get folks, and we encourage you, showmemoney.com, because we get people that are surprised. People are like, yeah, I'm not going to get on there. I probably don't have anything. And people get amazed at, oh, yeah, an old utility deposit or something. And we always get these success stories. And Stephanie was talking about $50 million in return. So here's the way I heard it, Scott, and you kind of know us a little bit. So in the past few years, these are record amounts of returns. Here's the way I'm hearing it. Since you've been coming on Wake Up Columbia to talk about this, we've been setting records for how much money citizens of Missouri.
Yeah, I gotta share the credit where it's due, And you're right. People, like a lot of people, will be listening to this and think, "Oh, this is not for me." There's no way I have unclaimed property. But literally, when I moved into the house that I live in, I know the people that lived here before me, and I got a postcard from my office addressed to those people. And so I took a picture of it and sent it to them. I went to high school with the girl. Wow. And I was like, "Hey, it looks like you have some unclaimed property." And she said, "Well, that's got to be a mistake, And I'm like, "Well, no, it's not. It's the whole point of unclaimed property is that you don't know that you have it. That's why it's unclaimed." And she's a State Farm insurance agent, and she actually was owed a premium refund from like a different insurance company. So I was like, "You probably ought to claim this." It was a few $100s, mm-hmm. And the average is $300, but we get them all the time that are in the thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands, and even sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars if it's a life insurance policy where they couldn't find the beneficiary, or if there's somebody passes away and they didn't have all their assets written down and the family wasn't aware of an account that had a bunch of money in it. And so that's the right to claim it never goes away. People can always claim the unclaimed property, even if the person who owned it passed away. The heirs have the ability to claim that money.
By the way, Branden Rathert, seriously, you do have some unclaimed property.
I do?
You do.
Talk to Scott for a second. I want to come see this. Yeah. I'm always checking.
This appears to be you. I'll let you take a look at that. That's your spelling, and I believe you have some ties to that community there. So, yeah, that appears to be you. And there's a form that you can fill out.
Ooh, what's the amount? Is it over 50?
I'm not gonna say on the air, but Scott, this to me, I'll tell you what's intriguing about this is that whether it's $1 or whether it's 10 cents or whether it's $100,000, it's money that people are owed. It's money that people are owed. But there are people that just simply know about it and maybe don't collect. So what happens if people just refuse to, or maybe they don't know or refuse to collect it? Where does that money go if it just stays in there for X amount of time?
So the way it works is we get this money in every year, and we're not carrying a balance of $1 billion in a fund. What we do is we transfer the difference between what we receive each year in unclaimed property, new unclaimed property coming in, the difference between that and what we pay out, which is usually around $50 million. We transfer that money to the General Revenue Fund, and it's used by the legislature when they write the budget to balance the budget. And what would happen is if we ever had a situation where we had more claims coming to us than we had revenue to the fund, we would get money back from General Revenue to continue to pay those claims. But we make it a priority to try to return this money. It's not a huge part of the state budget. But that is what happens if nobody claims the money. But if somebody came, and this program started in 1984, if somebody came this year and to claim something that we had received in 1984, we would pay them that money. They would get that money back, and that's always going to be the case, in the state of Missouri.
And final question, what is the largest amount that someone has received from unclaimed property, whether it's an insurance policy, whether it's money that was inherited that was just sitting in an account? Ballpark. I know you may not have an exact amount, but the largest amount that you can recall that someone has received from unclaimed property.
There was, before I was treasurer, there was one owner that had, I want to say around $5 or $6 million.
Wow.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, and we've even had, since I've been treasurer, we've had multiple claims that have been north of $1 million that we've paid out. So, it really is. And like you said, typically those are very, unique circumstances where, there's an heir to some kind of an asset that some grandma that, had a bunch of stock in some company that, she didn't tell anybody about, or, one of those types of situations. But we do get them all the time where it's like, I had a letter sent to me from somebody that had, their mom passed away and she had $60,000 in a 401k or something, and they didn't know it existed, and we ended up with it, and we contacted them and told them about it, and they collected the money. And it was, a life-changing situation for those people.
All right, State Treasurer Scott Fitzpatrick. Looks like I'm going to come knock on your office door today. Have your checkbook ready, because you owe me is it $298, Steph?
No.
No, it's not. Oh, it's $2.98.
Yeah, I think you missed the decimal point there.
State Treasurer Scott Fitzpatrick, we are always very appreciative of your time. As always, if there's something we can do for you to be of benefit to the citizens of Mid-Missouri, man, let us know.
Will do. Thanks, guys, as always.
Right, thank you. Appreciate it. Man, I check that thing every year. I got money. Who would have known? Coming up, Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. What he got for us today?
Airbnb's being a buzzkill.
Oh, man, I hate buzz. It's like cherry.
This show includes language and/or cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning, 8:28, time for the Morning Bell business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Well, Airbnb is being a buzzkill. You know, you go out of town to do something fun for Airbnb, and apparently now they had a temporary party ban because of COVID, and now they've got a permanent party ban. So you cannot rent an Airbnb and throw a party.
Really?
Kind of sad because some of those properties are like really big. So, I mean, and I don't exactly know their definition of party. You can't have an open invitation party. I guess there was a 16-person occupancy cap, and they are lifting that if you just want to, I guess, like hang out and play cards. I don't know. But you can't have an open invitation party. And there was, if you recall, there was like a shooting at an Airbnb party many years ago. And they said, you know, and then they get complaints from, especially where these Airbnbs are located with other properties. They've gotten a lot of complaints. So they said the party ban has reduced their complaints. They're happier about it. So no more parties for you.
Have I ever told you my Airbnb talking parrot story?
No, no.
Maybe we'll do that at 8:35. And by the way, we were talking about unclaimed property. We have success stories already we'll share 5 minutes from now.
That check of weather brought to you by Club Car Wash. Stop by Club Car Wash to get an unlimited membership for just $20 a month. ClubCarWash.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Ukraine's President Zelensky is again asking for more weapons to fight the Russian invasion of his country, speaking remotely to a NATO summit in Spain. President Biden's there.
Today I'm announcing the United States will enhance our force posture in Europe and respond to the changed security environment, as well as strengthening our collective security.
He's announcing the deployment of more fighter jets and warships to Europe and the establishment of a permanent Army headquarters in Poland. A SpaceX rocket set to launch from Florida between around 5 and 7 p.m. Eastern.
It will deliver to orbit the SES-22 satellite. SES is the operators of more than 70 satellites already, delivering TV and data connectivity to people, especially within the United States.
Fox's Evan Brown. A Baltimore police sergeant is on life support, dragged during a traffic stop. The driver got away. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31 and Robinson saves you time. We have bright sunshine here in Columbia, warming up. 71 is our current temperature, on our way today to a high in the low 90s. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. The NTSB this morning is interviewing Amtrak crew members after this week's deadly train derailment near Menden.
The National Transportation Safety Board's 14-member team is at the site of Monday's deadly collision between an Amtrak train and a dump truck in northern Missouri's Chariton County near Menden. The NTSB has been interviewing the train crew. The collision at an uncontrolled crossing with no lights has killed 4 and injured 150 others. Chariton County Presiding Commissioner Evan Emmerich says residents and county officials have been pushing for a safety upgrade at that location for 3 years. Don Luzader, Zimmer News Network.
We also have some breaking news on the deadly train collision. We have just received an email from Pam Menaker at Clifford Law, and they are saying that a family from Kansas aboard the Amtrak train that derailed will be among those filing lawsuits against the Amtrak company, as well as the company that owned the dump truck. We have just received that word. They are saying that this family is from Kansas, and this law firm is saying uncontrolled grade crossings are inherently dangerous. This is their quote here: "People want answers. They deserve answers," end of quote. So again, the Clifford Law Office will be suing both the dump truck company and Amtrak. A Columbia businessman who grew up in Chariton County praises government's response to the derailment. He describes it as highly coordinated. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:33. In sports, Cardinals beat the Marlins last night 5-3. The Cardinals with a chance to sweep the series tonight. Game 3, Busch Stadium. First pitch 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Rangers beat the Royals at the K yesterday 8-3. They'll play again today 1:10 Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Our sports is brought to you by Witt Print Shop. It's where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:33. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to post your job opening today. Just one quick traffic note, and there are quite a few people from the Columbia area that have ties to Sheraton County. Many of you have farms in that area. Some of you go up there to hunt. Basically, the message from Lieutenant Eric Brown during our live interview at 7:30 is if you're not involved, if you're not there to help, and you're not there to really help out or help out the people that are there, the first responders, they don't want anyone else going into that area impeding the work that is going on. He said they really need people to stay away, and also they're trying to get that railroad, the investigation done so they can get the rail line back open again. So that's just something to keep in mind in Menden, which is ballpark about 80 miles northwest of Columbia. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
That's the first lawsuit.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Let me just get that question out of the way then. Would you support Biden-Harris ticket in 2024?
I'm looking squarely towards 2022 and the re-election ahead of me, working to make sure...
The answer should be yes. When you're chatting with a Democrat representative who serves in the United States Congress, you're a Democrat, and you are asked, would you support Joe and Kamala in 2024? And you say, well, I'm focused on... That means no, she's not. That Democrat is not supporting Joe and Kamala. That's Abigail Spanberger. She is a Democrat, Democratic Congresswoman from the state of Virginia. Additionally, she was asked about whether or not she wanted these folks campaigning for her. And she said, I'll campaign for myself. Thank you very much, which I think is interesting. Again, just more of these signs indicating towards potentially a red tidal wave in the midterms 2022. And we are now, 5 weeks out from our primaries.
August 2nd.
Here in Missouri. Welcome into the show. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
I want to ask you, Brian was just doing a story regarding the Amtrak.
Yeah.
NTSB right now, as we hang out here at 8:36 on a Wednesday, we've got 16 folks in town from other parts of the country while they're in Menden, Missouri, searching through the wreckage of the Amtrak train and that dump truck, which took place literally, according to Missouri State Highway Patrol Lieutenant Eric Brown this morning, literally dirt road crossing, middle of some fields, and I guess already people are hiring attorneys to sue.
Yeah, and again, we're just doing our job reporting it. I don't have a lot of details, but we get emails occasionally from the Clifford Law Office, and sometimes I'll use them, sometimes I don't, because a lot of them are not from our area. But this is newsworthy here. What they're saying, Branden, is that it is a family that boarded in Kansas City. They were heading to a future business leaders conference at McCormick Place. Family from Kansas, either in the fourth or the fifth car. They are suing, according to the Clifford Law Firm, or they will be suing both Amtrak, and they are going to sue the dump truck company as well. This firm obtained, according to this release, this sounds about right, but from my fact-checking on this ballpark, this firm helped obtain a $16 million verdict for some clients involved in an Amtrak derailment in Washington in 2017. Now, I don't know how many in the family are suing, but they are suing. Right, they will be suing, and it's not just Amtrak. They're going to sue the dump truck.
That's Brian Hauswirth. He is the news director for the Zimmer Radio Group, and Stephanie Bell, who sits to my left. But if you're watching on our YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle, you'll see she sits to my right. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it's almost like the Brady Bunch. If you're watching on YouTube, and you'll see Hannah in the lower left-hand corner, Brian Hauswirth, lower right, And there, it's either that or Hollywood Squares.
I'm thinking of Paul Lynde and the Hollywood Squares, except
we're like Hollywood Squares when you watch on YouTube.
I was hoping you'd tell me which Brady Bunch brother you were and which one was Brian.
I couldn't tell you.
You know,
it's been so long I couldn't tell you.
You know,
I remember Paul Lynde for sure. He was huge at those Hollywood Squares.
Back in our day.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah. You know which brother of the Brady Bunch you were? Les Nessman.
Oh, okay.
From WKRP in Cincinnati. He wasn't even on the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
I want to ask something here, and I don't know, but one of the things, I don't know if you know this about Stephanie Bell or not, but she's an attorney, like very specific, high-end kind of stuff, and I know that civil lawsuits aren't your thing.
Civil litigation is my thing, but not, I don't do like train derailments, PI, personal injury, that kind of thing is not my thing.
So when I hear something like this didn't even happen 48 hours ago.
Correct.
NTSP still sifting through the stuff in that cornfield in Menden, Missouri. There's still people hospitalized. There's families making funeral arrangements right now. There's a total of almost 300 people's lives who have been affected. And then attorneys come out and say, and I'm not picking on anybody who does it, my perception from an average Joe Schmo, I'm like, really? Already? Is that?
There was some hate on social media, I know, about some local attorneys who kind of had indicated, we sue Amtrak, pretty soon thereafter. I would say, as somebody who has if you have an injury or whatever, and, with the significance of the this incident in particular, there's a lot of, evidentiary things that are, available right now, that, potentially you would want to be able to preserve and want someone on your side, in a circumstance like this. Also, obviously, there's an incentive for attorneys. A lot of times when these incidents happen, if you can get one client, then maybe you can represent quite a few of the different families. So there's an incentive for attorneys, to get involved early, not only from just building their case perspective and helping those that have been affected, but also in trying to kind of gather up numerous clients. Again, this isn't an area I practice in, but I would say it's not uncommon for attorneys to get involved very early on.
And the only other thing I'd add, and you're spot on that, and I'm aware of you showed me a picture of the law firm here in town that's taken some heat. The one thing I'd also point out, Branden and Stephanie, is that Clifford Law Office is asking for information. They specifically want videos or photos from people at the scene. Well, there's very few. I mean, that area is so remote. I can't tell you the specific interchange, but I know that area very well. And I doubt there'd be very many cameras in those areas unless they're on some farms. But that's what they're asking for. And they're going to allege a number of causes of actions in their lawsuit. But to your point, NTSB is not, their investigation essentially is just underway. It's so we've still, the investigation is just underway. We haven't even gotten the names of the victims at this point who have passed away. At this point, we don't know who the four are because it hasn't been released by either the Highway Patrol or the medical examiner's office.
And one of the witnesses to the scene afterwards that we spoke with yesterday told a very compelling story as it relates to the dump truck driver.
Yeah, Philip Smith, Branden. He runs and owns Peak Performance, basically Peak Sports and Spine here in Columbia, and he grew up in Sheraton County. And the way he described it to me is that it was a gentleman named Mr. Mosey, and I'm, by the way, trying to get Mr. Mosey on the phone today to get an interview with him because he did some other stuff as well. But Mr. Mosey literally jumped off according to Philip, jumped off his tractor. He and some other farmers, a lumberman as well, ran to the scene. And this guy that was hit by in the dump truck was actually alive. He was talking. He was conscious. He was talking. And the way Philip described it to me, the guy kept saying, "Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me." He sounded like he was scared. And then at some point he passed out. He became unconscious, and they could not revive him. And what Smith and his brother Shane said, his brother from Peak, they said this has taken a huge toll emotionally on the people who helped provide the rescue. These were farmers. These were people nearby. They did all they could, but they were very, very emotional recounting that.
I can imagine. I've never witnessed. I mean, the only time I've seen but I've never seen anybody actually die. The only time I've seen a deceased body is at funerals, and I don't do well with that either. More to come out here in the next few days. We will be in touch with the NTSB. You know, you can always go back, check out Wake Up Columbia podcast or Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time on our website, 939theeagle.com. Great conversation earlier this morning with Lieutenant Eric Brown with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. And I will say this, apparently just about all the agencies and everybody we've talked to are like, man, the people that came together and rushed to the scene to help. Because remember, Sheridan County, I think less than 10,000 people, maybe 7,000 to 8,000 people. And to get to that area, such a remote area, and with the quickness they did, so they are to be applauded. Also earlier this morning, we spoke with Scott Fitzpatrick, State Treasurer, talking about unclaimed property, and I got to thank Brian Hauswirth. Found me some money. I'm going to Scott Fitzpatrick's office today, and you better cut me a check.
I really thought that Brian was messing with you, to be honest.
So did I. And the funny thing is, I always talk about all these success stories whenever we talk about unclaimed property, which you really should go check this out, showmemoney.com. And we get success stories all the time. I found money for my father in years past, but I haven't checked it because I've checked it over the years. Brian Hauswirth is stalking me on showmemoney.com.
Are you comfortable saying how much you found?
Yeah. Are you?
I don't know how much you found.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I thought it was $298, but I was wrong. It's $2.98.
Oh, that decimal point will get you every time.
Man, the decimals and the Dewey Decimal System. 874-9390. Jim, welcome into the show. What can we do for you, bud?
Yeah, I usually check the website every time you guys have them on the radio, and I, like yourself, has never found anything. But today I scrolled in, found my name. There's $17 coming.
Really?
And then there's other pages, so I kept scrolling through, and I found another one that says it's over 50. So I don't even know what that amount is. And I'm like, well, let me check my wife. And sure enough, she's got a couple in there too. So I'm going to be able to pick up a couple extra cans of soup at Menards here.
I love that. So $17. So you found over $50, it sounds like?
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Jim, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be a part of Wake Up Columbia, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we also got a text from John. John, he found some money, too. I love that. Good news this morning. He says, I found $43. That's awesome.
Dang.
Yeah, did you go and check your name, Hannah?
I'm trying.
Well, that's what we all do whenever we talk about, unclaimed property. You get on there because it's something I don't think about through the year until we chat with our state treasurer, Scott Fitzpatrick. And I didn't even look this morning because I've looked in years past, and sure enough, something new had popped up. But here's the other thing, and I wished I would have had the opportunity to ask Jim this, because I don't know. I didn't look at it. Brian found the money for me, but I'm wondering, does it say what it's from? Because then that's the next thing I'm really curious about. Okay, I've got this money coming that's been sitting there for a while. It's unclaimed. Where did it come from? Who owes me that $2.98? By the way, Friday, you can start turning in your gas tax receipt stuff in case you're. Yeah, I'm getting my $38 to $50 this year.
I am, I guess, impressed that you have been able to keep track of all of these receipts.
Because, and I'll own it, I am not, when people talk about my strengths, organizational skills.
Not up there.
By George, I've missed a few times, missed gas tax receipts because they ran out of paper or whatever. But now I actually got to go and do the paperwork. And I might start doing the paperwork and these receipts that I've been saving since October the 1st. I might just be in the middle of it and go, yeah, never mind.
Not worth it?
But I think it would, because all you have to do is you get on to the Missouri Department of Revenue website and you fill out some stuff. You don't have to write down all the stuff on every single receipt. So if you've been saving your receipts, you can start doing that Monday. And if you haven't, you can start saving your receipts and you can get refunds on that 2.5 cent per gallon gas tax. We are glad that you're with us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia. And one more time, I want to, we had John Brunner on the show earlier this morning. John Brunner, of course, ran for governor 2016, very involved in business and politics and young people in politics. I've always known him to be a very neat guy. He was here talking about his endorsement in the U.S. Senate race. Have you heard who our former gubernatorial candidate endorsed in the U.S. Senate race? If you didn't hear, and as long as Hannah, the producer, reminds me, we'll do that.
Don't put that on me.
We'll do that. I'm like a Democrat. Here, you be responsible for my stuff, Hannah. I'm like a liberal.
I don't want to be responsible for your stuff.
I don't want to be. I'm a liberal all of a sudden. I don't want to be responsible for my stuff either. Who it is that John Brunner endorsed, and you'll be able to check that out in the Wake Up Columbia podcast, Wake Up Columbia on demand, anytime, all the time, on our website. We'll do that. And we mentioned one of the things we did mention to him this morning while he was talking about his endorsement, as he is a retired Marine. We mentioned to him that we raised at least you contributed $95,000 this past Feel Good Friday for our Central Missouri Honor Flight. Honor Flight Radiothon with Diamond Pet Foods, and we couldn't thank you enough. So, who is it that Brunner endorsed? That's coming up 5 minutes from now. Maybe we'll
The power of local talk. Wake Up Columbia with Branden. 93.9 The Eagle.
I think that there can be no higher priority than what we have been clear is our highest priority.
Clear as mud. You got that? I got to thank the star of the Gary Nolan Show for turning me on to that. Star of the Gary Nolan Show, of course, Brian Hansen. Gary Nolan Show, my dad's favorite talk show. He's getting ready to take over here in the next few minutes. But clear as mud from Kamala Harris. No clearer priority than what we've stated is our top priority. And I wonder, what is she doing sometimes? And there's the human element. Does she just get nervous? Is she trying to talk, in too fancy terms?
I want to go back to the geography lesson. Remember, like, the Ukraine and the Ukraine is a country, and it is next to Russia.
Big country.
It was like Sesame Street style. Now we've moved on. I don't know what that was, but I liked the geography lesson, honestly.
I saw a meme the other day, and you know the video, like, when her and Biden won the election, and it's like a viral video of her calling Biden. She's like, "We did it, Joe. We did it." And it's just captioned, and it says, "We didn't do anything, Joe."
And then there was the other one here in the Pick on Kamala minute on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Remember, she was charging a car, and she's like, "There's no, you can't hear any noise from the gas filling up. There's no guzzling or nothing."
Politicians are, oftentimes charged with saying a lot of stuff without saying anything, but I think she took that to another level.
Well, and I'm wondering, too, so she talks about there's no higher priority than the highest priority that we have stated is our thing.
Yeah, and what is that this week, Kamala?
Not the border.
Because, remember when she was appointed border czar and all the stuff that she's done since then?
Yeah, and she went to the border a whole bunch of times. Oh.
Yeah.
No,
I
didn't.
I think she made it to Texas, some parts of Texas.
The northern half of the state.
She's in Maine, the Canadian border. Wrong border. By the way, I hope nobody who's very swift with geography says, Maine doesn't border Canada. I don't know if it does or not offhand. Hannah's the most recent college grad. Coming up, we are going to, we're excited. It's the Gary Nolan Show coming up here tomorrow. Young voting expert Audria Taylor Decker. She's going to be joining us on the show. Any of these recent SCOTUS rulings, anything else happening that might scale back on that red wave that we're expecting? She's here tomorrow on